You are now tuned into Flipping the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of Flipping the Birds.
He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles.
Yeah, that still doesn't get old. Not at all.
No, it doesn't at all.
It still hits even after a little hiatus.
I'm actually pretty stoked to see that we hit that one instead of the old one.
Yeah. I'm on the iPad, so I was very confused as to which one was to click. But thank God it was labeled 2023 intro because it would have been a bit of a shit show. But welcome all to episode 172 of Flipping the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron alongside Eric Reese, Morgan Burkett, and we are back 2 weeks away from training camp. How you guys feeling?
172 is crazy, bro. Like just hearing you say that, it's like, damn. Like we're like before the season's over, we're gonna hit 200.
I'm feeling great. Like I'm feeling like 172 is also impressive, but you know what? Like out with everything last season, it didn't end the way that we wanted it to in the Super Bowl. Let's just get on with this one and make this season count because I think the Eagles run it back, and I think they could be running it back against the Chiefs in this upcoming Super Bowl. So I don't know. That road, we're on it. Well, not really. Well, we're well before it, but I can't wait, man. I'm just amped for football, just like how I'm amped for hockey all the time. It's my one too.
I feel like football is just a breath of fresh air when you're looking at when you're a fan of so many other teams. Like being a Mets fan right now sucks. Being a Sixers fan right now sucks. I'm not into hockey, so forgive me for that, Eric.
That's fine.
But yeah, it's just football is the one thing you can count on with the Eagles. Like there's stability there. There's a team that's gonna make a run one way or another. You know they're guaranteed to make the playoffs as long as they stay healthy. You know they have a competent GM, a competent coaching staff, a competent quarterback, definitely an elite quarterback, which a lot of people are still debating about, but we could get into that in another show in time. But yeah, I mean, we've spoken about the offseason, we've spoken about the transactions that have happened, the signing, the drafting. Now let's talk about a couple things that possibly could concern us going into the season. There's still moves to be made that I feel like some of us are still expecting something to happen. I think we could possibly start at linebacker. I know linebacker right now is Nakobe Dean. Everybody's hyped up to see him, take the starting role. Then you have Nicholas Morrow. But after that's a huge drop-off. I mean, not only for like a lack of depth, but there's no veteran. There's no veteran back there, honestly. You don't have a TJ Edwards. You don't have a Kaiser White. But you have some guys out there that are available. I mean, do you guys feel like this is still possibly a weakness for the Eagles right now?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that as excited as I am about Nakobe Dean, like it is a tough learning curve at linebacker. It's I think it's underrated how tough that is. You see some linebackers have some success early, and they're kind of drafted all over the place. And I think that people confuse that for how easy the transition is, and I don't think that has anything to do with it. I just think it's so hard to evaluate linebackers at the college level. Like you have a perfect example, really, in Nakobe Dean, like kind of banked on his athleticism. Don't get me wrong, he's an instinctual guy, good technique and all that, but really just is one of the best athletes on the field at all time, right? And so when you come to that next level, you have linemen that are you have linemen like Jason Kelsey. Not everyone's like Jason Kelsey, but you have centers like this that'll climb to you in a split second, right? And so the speed of the game is just faster, and so there is a little worry with that transition and him coming into fill shoes that you really had TJ Edwards who really overperformed for his draft position, and then Kaiser White, who I think was an underrated piece of the puzzle. I know he made his mistakes and the Eagles fans kind of got on him, but he was a really important piece of that, that run. So they're big shoes to fill. I think Nicholas Morrow is an underrated addition. I think that he might be the kind of the diamond in the rough of this offseason. I really do think that what you need is a guy who's just gonna, you have this front, right? That defensive line is going to create a lot of opportunities for backers. You need a guy who's a consistent tackler and has a nose for the football, and that's exactly what he is. So, I feel confident about the linebackers. I don't know that they add anyone just because, Howie Roseman has never valued the linebacker position. But I could see them bringing in a veteran, but I think it's just going to be a learning curve. I think early on we're going to see some mistakes from the linebacking group, and we're just going to have to be patient with them. So,
yeah, I kind of don't see the linebacking group as a weakness. I kind of see it as just kind of average. And by average being like, okay, we really don't know what Nakobe Dean is going to be still. We had this benchmark potential that I think a lot of people are saying, well, he's going to be good. He's going to be great because you have that potential that's in your head and you want that, right? But we don't know really much of anything about this linebacking group. I don't think they're going to be bad. I think that a lot of the success you see this early on from pretty much a fresh linebacking group is going to do a lot with the size, defensive scheming and strategy. But with that being said, I do expect a kind of a step down in performance from last season, but I don't think that's they're going to be bad or like outright trash by any stretch. I think in the beginning, the overwhelming idea is just going to be a little bit of frustration here and there, but once they kind of hit that stroke and they got tougher competition to really play against and test their mettle against, you're going to see this linebacking group kind of evolve by the end of the year when that's kind of when it matters anyhow. So I'm not worried about it. And I think when you look at Hassan Reddick and you look at Nolan Smith, those two, they're going to be getting after the quarterback anyhow. So how much those linebackers that are on the other side of the ball or even cram in the middle, like I think half the field is going to be taken away from because of this pass rush. I think that's going to take it a little bit of the pressure off of the linebackers and what they are expected to do versus what our defensive line is going to be aiming to do and probably doing, because that's the strength of our defense. I mean, we'll get to the defensive backs in a second, but we are going to be scheming if there's anything correct about this defense, that the power is coming from that defensive line.
See, but then that's my fear. I mean, the linebackers, like, the way to look at them, like, they're the interface that leads into the cornerbacks and the safeties, right? But the safety group is also another group where it's an how can I say this? An unproven group, right? You have Terrell Edmonds, who was part of the Steelers, great. You have Reed Blankenship, who came on last season, was great, was awesome, right? But what does he look like in a starting role? And then Sidney Brown, rookie, what does he look like in a starting role? Kayvon Wallace, he's 5 years in? What does he look like, actually playing safety now? I mean, we've seen these guys just get limited play so far. And I feel like that kind of puts a little bit too much of a pressure on the linebacker position, because Eagles historically have not done great in coverage in the middle of the field when it goes against slot receivers, when it goes against screen passes, the tight end. Like, yeah, like it's a huge weakness when it comes to that. So it's kind of like they both go hand in hand. Like we'll talk about the secondary in a second, but they do both go hand in hand. And it's like the Eagles have to pick their poison at this point and make something happen one way or another on one of those sides. And it's just it's something that has to happen. Like, you don't go into the season without some type of veteran in a safety or a veteran linebacker. I don't know. I feel like it's too risky. It's still too cocky in my opinion.
Well, it's kind of a perfect transition in talking about the DBs. I'm interested to see how they use Terrell Edmonds, because I think what we're going to see is kind of that Malcolm Jenkins hybrid role with even maybe less safety responsibility for him. Like, I think that first off, I feel like the Eagles are going to play a lot of dime and a lot of nickel. They're going to try and keep teams to long second downs, and then that allows them to kind of play that base nickel. With that extra defensive back. And I feel like that's going to be Terrell Edmonds. And I feel kind of optimistic, weirdly, with Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown back there. Like, they're just great athletes. And again, they're going to make mistakes and they're going to make coverage mistakes, but you're kind of banking on that defensive line getting there early. And we saw, Reed Blankenship's able to make plays. We all watched Sidney Brown film, and there's a lot of reasons to be excited. Obviously there's a learning curve there, but I'm really interested in see how they use Terrell Edmonds, because I do think that he's going to function almost as that third linebacker. And then they're going to have Nolan Smith and Hassan Reddick just walk up. So it's going to look like almost a 50 front, similar to what we saw last year. But I think they're going to move Hassan Reddick around. Then they'll just bring Terrell Edmonds in the box. And then what they'll do is they'll have him in the box. And then all of a sudden he'll bail out its cover 2. And I think that confusion that this defense is going to create, which again, we're assuming that was what's going to look like, but that's really going to help the linebackers as well. And the DBs, which we're going to talk about. But I think that's kind of the wild card is how they use Terrell Edmonds.
And I have to agree with you 100%, just in the fact that I do have this strange but like unwavering confidence in Reed Blankenship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's gonna be stellar like out the gate. No, I think the linebacking and the safeties are kind of going to limp into the season, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think the learning curve is as sharp as everybody will project. I mean, certainly myself. I think that this is a team that will be exposed at times by the right teams, like probably the Chiefs, actually, which that kind of sucks to say out loud, right? But at the same time, it's like it's Mahomes, and that's the real deal. You got Kelsey, and that's the real deal. And we're talking about if this team's got to get right. I mean, we're talking about maybe defensive coordinator of the year type of stuff, because this isn't what we're used to in Philadelphia. As far as we did have a few linebackers that were solid for us for years, and if we didn't have linebackers, we did have a couple safeties that were definitely serviceable and getting us over that hump. I mean, during the Super Bowl, we had McLeod, we had Jenkins, shit like that. Like, we had the talent, and exactly what you said, Morgan. They were versatile. They can step into the box. They can do whatever you ask them. We don't have that, but I don't think it's that far out of the way. Like, if you kept this kind of nucleus, this team, they're smart enough and they're athletic enough to get it. And then the thing is, they're young enough to get it for quite a while.
I definitely don't disagree with that. So then I guess kind of sticking a little bit in the secondary. I mean, outside of Reed Blankenship and then Terrell Edmonds, I mean, the next step is Sidney Brown, which a lot of people are very excited about. I know, Morgan, you were all on that Sidney Brown train heading into the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's kind of like obviously with OTAs, you take with a grain of salt. A lot of people were complaining about his missed tackles in college and possibly what can it actually hinder him in the league? I mean, do you feel like that his game would translate well in his rookie season, or is it kind of just a wait and see project with Brown?
I think you're gonna see like a similar pathway to Reed Blankenship. Like, I don't think that he's a starter unless there's injuries, especially in the early goings. But I mean, we'll see. Like, again, if they're gonna bring Terrell Edmonds down in the box, and another name we haven't mentioned, which I mean, might kind of rouse a groan from people listening, but who knows what Kayvon Wallace is going to do, right? Like, he's just kind of sitting on the depth chart. We've been waiting for him to pick it up, and maybe the difference is just a different defensive coordinator. Like, you never know, right? Like, he's still got all the athletic attributes. Maybe they just push him down and he's more of a box safety, and he's just playing that true strong safety role, which is what he should be doing anyways. But if we're looking at more of those dime nickel looks, like, you just need a body there, and you need someone that can play single high, and Sidney Brown can definitely do that. And he can play the 2 high. So I think, again, like, you're at a really good place with this defensive line. You can kind of bring those defensive backs on, and they really you just need them not to make any major mistakes, which easier said than done. But I mean, if Sidney Brown catches on early, you're looking at a possible defensive player of the, well, I don't want to go that far, defensive player of the rookie of the year, but like, the impact he could make if he catches on early is the sky's the limit. But I think what you're going to see is, he's that third safety, and the Eagles love to use a third safety. Like, this even goes back to the Jim Schwartz era. Is like, they always love to have a third safety. That third safety role is really important on the Eagles. So he's definitely not useless. He's definitely not going to sit on the sidelines twiddling his thumbs. So they're going to put him to work. It's just about how much of that playbook he can pick up.
I know, Brian, you're up, bud.
Oh no, I thought you were going to chime in on that. As far as
you guys pretty much nailed it as far as all the defensive backs and the linebackers are concerned. I mean, I guess, do you guys see any potential diamonds in the rough, if you will, from maybe this upcoming preseason? Do you expect any jumps from in the depth chart? Like, I'm looking at guys like maybe like a Patrick Johnson. Like who knows if he jumps up anywhere and is used in a different way in this in this defense. Will Davion Taylor, jump in Sean Bradley in the depth chart? Like, is that something that you guys, could foresee? Or, is this something that you expect them to be where they are?
And I think that's what's throwing me off a little bit because they have, like you mentioned, two or three guys there that we didn't even discuss when it comes to linebackers, right? Patrick Johnson, Sean Bradley,
Yeah.
And Davion Taylor. Davion Taylor went down early. Was it last season possibly or the year before? And he was just out injured. And then last year they cut him, brought him back. Also another player, Christian Ellis, who was making waves last season and also making waves in OTAs. I feel like there's a lot of guys that could really produce, but I think what's hindered the Eagles in previous years, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but Jim Shorts, right? Didn't let the young guys play much. It was never a young guys game with Jim Shorts. Sure. Jonathan Gannon, to be honest, my thing, Jonathan Gannon was only playing with the cards in his hand and refused to look at the cards in the deck. Sure. And it just I feel like Sean Desai might be a little different, right? Sean Desai is a guy who gets it. It feels like when he speaks, when you hear him just speak about the defense, speak about Philadelphia, he seems like he gets where he is. He understands where his feet are right now, and I think that's super key to what the Eagles defense needs to do this season. That's the main ingredient. If Sean Desai, I hate to say Matt Patricia and the other defensive coaching staff members, if they can put it together and make this a very well-oiled machine, then I feel like, hey, they could come out with a guy like Christian Ellis, being a star linebacker, or they could come out with a Kayvon Wallace, just blossoming out of nowhere, and they could have significant weapons. I think that's what drives me nuts so much. That's so weird to say. Is that a lot of these other defensive coordinators, they don't know how to shuffle the deck. They're not fans of shuffling the deck because they want to work with what's worked for the previous regime, the previous guy, because they don't want to mess up. They're on the hot seat right away. And I feel like, with Nick Sirianni and Sean Desai, maybe there's a little bit more rope for Desai to play with his tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I really hope so because there is a lot of young talent that just kind of needs that opportunity to prove themselves. I'm gonna confirm that. Drew was mentioned Kyron Johnson. Man, I remember listening to his first interview after he got drafted. And you just reminded me right away of BG. Like same kind of energy, loves the game of football, and those are the guys you love to have in your locker room. And I think that he kind of has that opportunity, like Josh Sweat, where like no one outside the Eagles organization knew what was coming with Josh Sweat. Right. And then all of a sudden he's a 10 sack guy. And like we saw the writing on the wall, we saw it coming. But I think that there's an opportunity there for him really to take on, like, again, a rotational role. It may be 20-25% of snaps. It won't be much, but making an impact on those snaps, I think he really has opportunity. And I love his drive. I love his motor. But the big wild card for me is Greedy Williams. I have no idea what he's going to bring to this defense. And that's another thing we're talking about, the secondary. Like, how are they going to play him? I think they talked about it a long time on the Browns moving him to safety. Maybe the Eagles finally go and make that switch for him. But either way, that's like we're talking about, you need a veteran presence. And, again, we're fortunate enough to have Darius Slay and James Bradbury. But Greedy Williams, again, like he's kind of been through it. Like, he's not a vet, but, went through his first stint in Cleveland and saw a lot of defenses and saw a lot of offense. And so if they decide to move into that safety role, I'd be quite excited to see what he can do there. But it kind of seems like his pathway is carved out for him on how he makes his team. And it's going to be through being that veteran and being versatile and probably playing a lot of special teams. But, if they can get him comfortable, like here's a guy that was a second round, I believe, pick, with that talent. And he was probably a first round talent in other drafts. And just kind of didn't fit into that defense, and then had some hiccups along the way. But the talent's undeniable, and that's just a guy that's kind of sitting behind. I mean, obviously, it's great to have. God forbid you lose a corner, you have a guy there with some real starting experience. But I think if he's as good as advertised, you find a way to get him on the field.
I do think that a lot of this, talk that we're having, whatever position it is on the defense. Early on, it's about, how much this team and Sean Desai is really prepared to kind of take this defensive unit and just kind of develop them and as he sees fit. But that's the key, right? Developing. And you nailed it, Brian. That's not something that Gannon did. Gannon just had things that had talent that made his idea look better because the talent was better. I think like that this maybe not out of the gates, like I've been saying that throughout this episode so far, maybe not out of the gates or they, kind of just peeling out, but decide and at least stabilizes and develops. And that's what we're looking for kind of out of any coordinator with their fingerprints on something for the first year. But I do want to see I have all the faith in guys like Blankenship and Dean and things like that. On the offensive side of the ball, let's talk about the running backs. I mean, what do you think about the running backs, Brian? Because you seem completely opposite to anything I was going to say. So go ahead. Go ahead.
So you guys remember in high school, right, where you guys would just stroll the hallways and you see that one girl and it's kind of like, wow, like she's beautiful, she looks great, wow, you see all the great things about her, right? But then you start to date her, and as you date her, you get to know her, and you see who she really is underneath the surface, and it's just ugly, right? I feel like that's kind of how the running back situation looks right now, right? Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift, Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott, Trey Sermon, all on paper look great. DeAndre Swift, I love his game. Quick feet, acceleration is like, to me, at least second to none at this point. Rashad Penny, big, bold, big bomb, big back that can, just run over opposing defenders. But the issue is health, right? That's the main thing. Rashad Penny's availability has literally been like 50% of the time throughout his whole career so far. DeAndre Swift hasn't been as injured, but he's had his concerns, his little nicks and knacks throughout his career. Kenny Gainwell, we saw promise in him within the playoffs. Like, he looked pretty damn good. I mean, he took over the starting role. If you want to talk about it, he had more snaps than Miles Sanders in almost every game. But I feel like the Eagles went a little too cheap with running back. And Morgan, you could attest to this. Like, when it comes to like audio equipment, what you pay for is what you get, right? You buy a $20 headphones, you buy a $20 interface, you're gonna get $20 worth of equipment.
Right.
And I feel like you're paying the bare minimum for running backs. You're going to get exactly what you paid for. And that's the scary part about it. Like, we knew what we had in Miles Sanders. We knew what we had, in top tier running backs we traded for a guy, right? I'm all on the Swift train. I love the DeAndre Swift. I love Rashad Penny signing. I'm just fearful of what if they can hold up throughout the whole season. That's my only fear right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
need you to be unafraid.
Before I put my 2 cents in, I feel like we got to bring up Davey's comment because that has me rolling. That's hilarious.
Absolutely not, Davey. Absolutely not.
I mean, you nailed it right on the head. Right on paper, this is a top 5 running back room, right? If everyone stays healthy, you have 2 starters and potential 1,000-yard running backs. Like, there's no reason why Rashad Penny, if he stays healthy, couldn't have made it there. Obviously, this playing in Seattle, playing running back, like, it's almost like cursed to make it a full season. Like, it just doesn't happen. But yeah, on paper, it's great. It's just whether or not they can stay healthy. And I think, we're kind of going to transition in a bit to talking about the wide receivers, but the running backs being healthy on this roster matters so much, not only in the run game, but in the pass game as well. I mean, DeAndre Swift, if he stays healthy, is exactly the type of running back this offense needs. Like, it's a perfect fit. I couldn't even, there are running backs that are better. Like, Nick Chubb is better. I don't think he's a better fit than DeAndre Swift. I think DeAndre Swift is a better running back for this offense, right? And so, you're looking at all these.
Is like a mix of Ryan Matthews and Darren Sproles for you.
Right, yeah.
Right, a little bit like the home running style, but he has a passing ability to Darren Sproles.
Yeah, the one cut ability is just incredible, and he's one of those guys where, like, with Miles Sanders, he's always kind of a threat to take it to the end zone, but like, it's like, okay, if it happens in a game, it's great, but like DeAndre Swift is a legitimate threat to take it to the house every time he touches the ball, and so if they can stay healthy, it's fantastic, and I think obviously the Eagles' solution to that seems to be, okay, well, we bring in as many as we can and hope we can kind of get the rotation to the point where they stay healthy. I think the thing that kind of puts me at ease is Kenny Gainwell. And I just there's something that he showed in the playoffs that we kind of already thought was that in him to show. And I don't know. I think that guy is like going to be the wild card for this. I think he's going to play a huge role. And again, like we're going to go into talk about receivers too in the passing game, but all these guys, Rashad Penny probably, like if Rashad Penny's your least of your pass catching backs, you're in a pretty good position. Like, you have DeAndre Swift, and what I hope we see, which I've been kind of crying for years, is some 2 running back sets. But I mean, if this again, like you said, Brian, it's just
playing
about health.
fullback.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? Like, and we didn't even really talk about Boston Scott. I mean, you're not in a terrible situation if he's on the field. Like, it just, he doesn't necessarily have that explosive playability. But, yeah, I mean, if you take health out of the equation, man, this is a top 5 running back room.
And I think what will help the health equation is not how much, but Jalen Hurts is a running back as well. He's a quarterback. He definitely proves he's a quarterback, but he's also a running back as well. And so, that takes some of the rushing, and not all of it, probably not even most of it, but some of it even off of the running backs, depending which one they want to use too. So now if you're in this cycle of running backs, maybe it wasn't even Swift's turn to get up there anyway. Maybe it was Swift's turn to get it into huddle. But hey, Jalen ran it, and it's a 20-yard, scramble, broken play, touchdown, whatever it is. Well, now you just get off the field for the drive, and now you're preserving not only whoever was supposed to be out there because Jalen can run the ball, but you have one of a house of cards, pretty much, 4 that can get out there and do the job, and now you're just preserving players because you have so many options. I don't think DeAndre Swift is going to be a worry. Something tells me that. I don't have a reason. I know that he has been a worry, just like how Morgan spelled out, just like how Brian spelled out. I know that, Rashad Petty has also been a worry, obviously, like more than DeAndre Swift. But I still worry about Penny. I don't worry about Swift. I think that Gainwell is probably going to be the cream that rises to the crop, the cream that rises to the top anyhow. Boston Scott still will be absolutely utilized. And I do think, Morgan, that you get the duo back set, because how can you not? Like, that's just the way I see it. Yeah, there's many different ways to come at a defense where it might even compensate for it. We might be an offensive versus a defensive team because we might have to compensate for that, staying on the field longer, but given different looks. I do think that wear and tear will happen, but I also think that, this is deep enough where you're not going to really have to worry about it, and some of those guys are kind of going to break that cycle. And we haven't even discussed Trey Sermon, if they need to go there.
And that's very true. And just to clarify, I think Morgan can attest to this. Like, we don't. I personally, we don't think Rashad Penny and the Swift moves were terrible moves at all. Like, I don't think Rashad Penny's a bust or a bum. Like, the guy is efficient. I completely get that. But my thing is, like, your best ability is availability, and this is a Super Bowl caliber team. If Rashad Penny, to kind of go to Drew's comment, if Rashad Penny only plays 8 games, that's a little bit of a half a season, right? If you're talking playoffs, the Super Bowl, he's not available in the playoffs when you need the run game. Like, what, was it worth it at the end of the day? And that's my key thing. Like, you can't look at the Eagles no more as a team that is just trying to make the playoffs. No, this is a team that's going to make the playoffs. This is a team that's trying to bring a Lombardi home now because they've proven they have a top 3 quarterback. They have a top 1 offensive line. They have a top 1 defensive line. Like, they have everything they need. They just need everybody to be available, and that's my key thing about this running back group. But I agree with Morgan, Kenny Gainwell. I was already set on him being the guy, and I agree with both of you. Like, it's just, this could be a great group. I think DeAndre Swift does last the whole season, but again, it's just like, it's still a bit concerning just because it's about it's about what have you done for me lately, right? At the end of the day. Like, you could tell me, like, you're gonna go wash the dishes. Okay, great, but you haven't washed the dishes in the past 3 weeks. Like, I'm not gonna believe shit you're saying until you do it.
It's facts.
And then what have you done lately? What have you done lately, right? Let's talk about the wide receivers, because it's an interesting offseason of wide receivers, right? Eagles signed Olamide Zacchaeus. Eagles kept Quez Watkins after the trade rumors. I think we all can agree that we've never been that down on Quez. We've just been let down by Quez, right? Because we saw that as a wide receiver too, he was good. The guy was putting up great numbers. Wide receiver 3, you have A.J. Brown now, and I get it, like your role change, but you still dropped a freaking key pass in the Super Bowl, and that still stings me. And he did have a down season in his role. Now, are you guys of the notion where it's like, it's either Quez or Alameda, or of the notion where it's, hey, we can actually use both of them? I think they both can play very well off each other, kind of like Zach Pascal and Quez last year. But Alameda, I feel like, has better receiving ability than Zach did, and I feel like Alameda can be a better playmaker than Zach was. How do you guys feel about that dynamic right now?
Yeah, I got Alameda pretty much staying put. And unless he goes down, then obviously Quez is going to step in. But yeah, you do make an interesting point about how they can maybe play off each other, maybe how Quez can be used in a rushing attack as well. There's different looks he can throw, and he's fast enough to be a guy that can be used in that sort of way. What I worry about is, from what I saw last season, you brought up the point of that dropped pass in the Super Bowl. You want to know who would have caught that pass?
Aguilar, no.
No, don't you dare. The third guy behind Quez Watkins,
Zach
which
Pascal.
would have been Greg Ward.
Mm.
Greg Ward would have caught that, and not only would have caught it, he would have fell down and probably into the end zone as he did when Carson threw him one.
Mm.
With the grace of God.
Yeah, but the grace is the hand of God. But no, let's be honest. I hope Quez bounces back, because anything if he does, that's good for Philadelphia. He has the tools and the potential of these athletics, and he has the athleticism to be a game breaker if used correctly in this offense. But if used correctly, cannot be the excuse. He has to execute.
Right.
So yeah, I don't see him kind of taking over someone else's spot, especially when the point is that he is now second at that role because he just didn't prove to be good enough. Until he proves to be good enough, and he has to take an outlandish step or be the option and prove that he was safe at that option. If not, Greg Ward is coming to the dinner table. He's coming for that spot. So, look, I think that this is a pressure year for the guy. Like I'm almost more intrigued by Greg Ward, and not even like as a joke. I'm almost more intrigued by Greg Ward and Quez Watkins being a position battle than I am Quez Watkins knocking on the door to start.
Did they re-sign Greg Ward, or
he's showing as third on the depth chart that I'm looking at right now.
Oh wow!
At that slot, it will be Alameda, if I'm saying that right, because sometimes I'll mess it up. Quez Watkins, Greg Ward, and then Jadon Hasselwood at slot. That's what that shows. Which I don't think that's completely accurate, because they'll probably put some other wide receivers in slot before a lot of those guys. But according to this, Greg Ward could be getting some playing time and just not being a call up in the Super Bowl who watched. Like, pretty much.
So watch your pork dry off the table.
Hey, you know what? We could have won the Super Bowl if you just put Greg Ward in there. That's the way I see it. Pat Mahomes, Greg Ward. I think Greg Ward's the new Nick Foles. I think.
I mean, yeah, I'm kind of flabbergasted, but I mean, I'm all for the Greg Ward hype train, but I think you do bring up an interesting point. Is the wide receiver 3 role, like a lot of people, and I think even Nick Sirianni included, it's kind of just like they thought of it as like your third wide receiver that plays. Like whoever it is, like they're going to get the most amount of snaps. And so therefore they have to fill a bunch of different roles. But I think we saw kind of Nick Sirianni learn as he saw more of Zach Pascal, is like that role can be different people and multiple people and for different situations. And what I think, honestly, is I think what Brian was saying is like you are going to see some split there with playing time, but I see the real true wide receiver 3 being DeAndre Swift. That's who your wide receiver 3 is, right? Like I think you're going to see a lot more formations where there is no third wide receiver. We're going double tight, or we're going two in the backfield, and we're just having AJ Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside. And I think that's where you kind of manufacture this. Like if you think about kind of what touches Zach Pascal got last year, there were those, those play action where he's just kind of running a flat route, or he's running a slip where, he's kind of coming behind the line of scrimmage, like faking the wham and then kind of getting out in space. And DeAndre Swift can do that. Heck, Kenny Gainwell can do that. And so I don't think it's really a position battle so much as Quez Watkins proving, one, that he has the hands to stay on the field, or two, Zacchaeus proving that he can fill the roles that Quez Watkins can. The one thing you can't deny is 4.3 speed, right? And that opens up so much for this offense. I mean, you kind of looked at the receivers they brought on, right? They brought on Joseph Ngata and Charleston Rambo. Those are big dudes, right? They're not speedsters. They're like, that's not what they're trying to do on the outside. They're not going to be a team. And again, DeVonta Smith and A.J. Brown can run with the best of them. Don't get me wrong. But they're not the 4.3 speed guys that Quez Watkins is, right? And that opens up so much that I don't think you can really ever take Quez Watkins out of the equation, because there's no one else on this roster outside of Devin Allen. But, we haven't seen enough out of him to even be the feature as a punt returner, right? So, so I just think that like you're kind of in a situation where you have to play Quez Watkins. He's the only one in your team that can really, truly stress the safeties up the middle of the field. And again, worst case scenario, you have Dallas Goedert in the middle, right? So they're not in a bad place. It's just those situations where you need to trust the receiver. You don't feel great about Quez Watkins, but it's undeniable what he brings to this offense and that extra factor of just stretching the field.
Do you think before like Quez is relied on as a receiver that they would just use a tight end?
Yeah, I think that's where you kind of learn, right? Is like, that's what I'm saying is on those 3rd and 8 or whatever, is it Quez Watkins anymore? I think Sirianni kind of learned his lesson where you can go to those 2 tight end sets, or you can go to DeAndre Swift, or you can go to Kenny Gainwell. Like, I think that's where you kind of learn is like, unless you need someone stretching the field, then Quez Watkins doesn't need to be on the field. And then, like in terms of his route running, I can't see him taking a huge leap and bound. Like, he's still going to run a go route. He's still going to run a hook. He's going to run an in. He's going to run it out. That's what you have him do, right? So, you can still put him on the field. I don't think he's that much of a liability, but are you trusting him in pressure situations? Maybe you go 2 tight ends. Because now they got Dan Arnold. He's, again, like athletic for a man his size, but really what he is a reliable pass catcher.
Yeah.
And a good blocker.
So you bring up the subject of tight ends, right?
Let's go. Let's talk.
There was a recent tweet with a recent video clip that I was made aware of through our chat because I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just watched it as you were speaking because I forgot to watch it throughout the day. But let's talk about the moon, guys.
Let's talk about the universe.
Let's talk about
the conversation that everyone saw coming, of course.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Loving the birds.
Dallas Goedert does not believe in the moon landing, as neither does A.J. Brown. But they have valid points, if you ask me. I mean, how do you guys feel about it?
I've never been to the moon.
Fair.
But I believe that someone landed on it because I was told about it. Okay, mostly because I was told about it. All right. No, I do believe that. I mean, why? I have no reason not to believe it, but it's also like I have just as much of a reason to be like, oh, they recorded it in Hollywood somewhere, because you can pretty much do whatever you like in a movie, on a movie set, and production, blah blah blah. I just have a hard time. I don't know. I just have a hard time sitting there going, I've known my entire life. I've been taught my entire life that, this is the moon landed. This is what it looked like. This is what happened. One, giant step for man, with the American flag planted in there. The American flag with some Sears. Like, that's what that's literally, like, that's the part of the detail that I've learned, like, in my lifetime. And now it's just like, no, actually, it was like Stanley Kubrick, dude. So, yeah, I'm counting me for team. Someone landed actually on the moon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I get a dog in this. I know that's a big part of American history, so I don't want to discredit anything. But I mean, I'm of the mind of, like, with conspiracy theories, I always go like, who has the gain from this? Like, like, that's the thing, is I always listen to, and again, like, you're in Canada, like 50% of the population smokes weed. We're conspiracy theories. Like, We got him, bro. Like I was, you're in 10th grade. That you got that one buddy who just like eats pens for no reason. It's like he's got conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? Like they've been around, right? And it's just like I always like listen to stories, and I'll always hear someone out about whatever they want to talk about. And again, I worked in a halfway house for like 5 years, working with men coming out of the prison system. You want to talk about conspiracy theories, man? My goodness. But it's just like what was there to gain? Like who's sitting there like with their pockets full of cash and like, oh, I'm glad we faked that moon landing. Like I'm so rich off of that. I guess.
Did it. Well, Sears is like, yo, like you don't believe what we have American flags that you could put on the moon? Buy our American flags.
As far as I know, Sears went under in Canada, so I don't know.
I don't know. They probably did go under. They're probably trying to come back up.
Yeah, they need another moon landing. Shit. But like, I don't know. Again, I don't want to bring up the tragedy or anything like that. But like, we saw how hard it is to go see the Titanic, right? Like, so that is where I'll say, like, okay, like the moon landing, like, it's crazy that we went up that one time and like we haven't gone up really that often since. You'd think, but again, who has anything to gain from it? I'm not really sure. So. I think Dallas in the interview brought up a pretty good point. It was like, that's pretty good footage. Like, we can't even get footage of stuff in the water. Maybe again, I don't know that much about science or physics or anything like that. But I feel like yeah. But again, who has anything to gain? And I'm not going to stay up at night thinking about the moon. I got my own problems.
I hardly even look at it, to be honest with you.
Exactly, yeah. I got other shit on my plate, man.
I'm very curious to see. Drew, tell us how you feel about this theory right now in the chat if you can.
Let's expand on this on the moons.
Listen, I'm gonna look at it this way, right? It's above my pay grade to think that high of the earth, right? Like I don't get paid to think about that. I don't get paid to dream about that. I go outside, I see this moon, cool, it's lighting up the night sky, so I can walk my dog. Call it a day after that.
Yeah.
I don't, nobody pays me to think about that, but I mean,
Morgan, what was the name of the kid that ate pens?
Dennis. His name was Dennis.
I feel like, yeah, Devin. I was gonna say Devin, but like Dennis, like something like that. I mean, like
you look like a Dennis.
It's also always the dudes with like shorter versions of their name that they could go by, but like Timothy. Like, why don't you just Tim, bro? Like, just be Tim. Like, you know what I mean? Like, on purpose, they go by the long form of their name. Those dudes love conspiracy theories.
Okay, here's a dumb one for you. So you got Chris, you got Christopher. Do you think Topher is just someone who's like, I like only the middle of that name?
So I got the craziest story, man. So I was in long story short, I was in Ethiopia I was on a school trip to Ethiopia. It's weird. It's great opportunity. Anyways, we were playing cards. We were drunk. We were playing cards with like the hotel staff.
Your school trips took you always to Ethiopia?
This is for university. I was doing like a research paper. And anyways,
okay.
That part's not even really relevant. I just wanted to brag a little bit, but
sixth grade, I went to the zoo.
Yeah, the same shit, really, I guess. But I shouldn't say that. That's pretty fucked up. But anyways, but yeah, so this guy's name was Christopher, and he always went by Chris, and then the other guy's name was Benjamin, and he always went by Ben. So they placed a bet. We were playing poker, and they placed a bet, and the bet was if whoever lost, like if Ben would have to go by Jammin, he had to switch his name on Facebook. This is when Facebook was like still relevant, and like and they had that thing where like if you change your name once, like you couldn't do it again for like 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And then Christopher lost. And to this day, this was 2014. To this day, his name on Facebook is Topher. He changed his identity, bro. He's literally Topher now. Everyone calls him Topher. Yeah. So I mean, it's viable, I guess. But only as a bet. Yeah. So
only as a bet. See, don't name your kid Topher.
That's such a great story. It's like, oh, it was a bet in Ethiopia, and I lost. Now my name's Topher.
I'm so mad that you went to freaking Ethiopia on a freaking class trip. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
My permission slip wouldn't get signed for that.
I went to a
yeah. It's just the Wild West up here, bro. Canada, we just dip out to different countries.
I'm curious, like, what the hell is a grassy knoll?
This is bro. This is part of your history, man. This is American history.
I mean, yeah,
this is JFK, is not.
See, I don't know. Is it?
What do you mean you don't know? This is literally the whole
because there's conspiracy theories about that one too. So what do you know, really?
This was. I thought the grassy knoll thing was JFK. That's what I thought. Damn, this is going. I don't know if we can continue.
This is going sideways.
Yeah,
I don't know if if Davy's saying that he was the second gunman, if I'm accessory to murder now, I'm very concerned right now about the podcast.
Yeah. We're gonna have to cancel the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, guys, we're canceling this subject.
Well, dang, that's gonna make this a real weird invitation for Dallas Goedert and AJ Brown to go to the moon with me. Like, you want to go to the moon? I'll show you the moon, brother. Like, let's go. But hey, all right, let's not talk about conspiracy theories.
I can see Eric right next to the rocket ship, just tying his band in, like, let's do it, brother.
You guys sing to them like it's a Disney song. I can show you the moon.
I can show you the moon.
Yeah.
But see, I don't want to be the guy that ate pens, so let's not do that.
No, you're good now. You're fully grown. You can do whatever you want, I think.
I do apologize.
He said, he nailed it.
Subject.
Why did the Canadian get that right? Come on, guys.
Bro, listen, you in Canada, yes, they smoked a lot of weed, but we did the same thing in America in high school, bro.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm good with numbers, man, but don't ask me about history. I can break down numbers for you.
Okay.
Morgan's just like half of us are looking at conspiracy theories. Then also he's also surprised now. Like, I knew JFK and we didn't.
Morgan's Reddit name is No Tan Lines Guy.
He doesn't go outside. He just looks up conspiracy theories.
Yeah. I've had a few Becks in my time. Whatever.
Oh God! All right.
The worst part about this is my idea to bring up.
Unhinged.
Oh God!
This is the off season.
Yeah.
We're about to get off because this is going real. Oh yeah. But anyways, we're back in motion, guys. We'll be back next week and going forward because training camp does start on 25th. I know education system in America sucks. It does suck.
I mean, I'm not good. not good. It's not doing all right.
Going on here?
Look,
believe it or not, we did talk about the Eagles for like a solid 30 minutes. That's all.
If
you're just tuning in
for 5 minutes, and everybody thinks like we're conspiracy theorists now.
Listen, if you ask me, Swoop landing on the moon first, all right?
Oh, I can't wait to see the comments on this because I can't see them on the side right now. Like, it's not live. I'm going to go back and watch this. This is going to be awful.
Yeah. I mean, it makes it easy for me making clips. I won't have to look at the last 20 minutes. It'd be easy.
That's sick.
Yeah, just avoid the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
This is what you get if you watch us live. So, welcome to our not Patreon.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like that's what makes it special. I think everybody's a little bit of everybody else that does podcasting, except for Phil.
All right.
Phil's my morning coffee show. I love watching Phil in the morning, but it's what makes us, us. We're flipping the birds. We're not, for the birds and
we don't believe in the moon.
411.
I do. I believe in the moon.
Yeah, we all got secret Reddit names.
Topher
31.
Yo, our next thing is gonna be flipping the birds. Wake up, sheeple. That's what
Oh no. Yo, you ever been canceled, Morgan? It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Nah.
I'm gonna get a slack from Liam after this. I promise you, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm getting sent to the principal's office. Yes, we'll be back next week. We'll be back the week afterwards. It's training camp starts, media availability. We'll finally get our hands on, what's going on with the Eagles, how they're looking. And I feel like next week we talk a little about, Jalen Hurts and his quest to be recognized. I feel like, right?
Number one.
Validated.
But yeah, until next week, I'm Brian Cameron. He's Eric Reese. He's Morgan Burkett. No Tan Lines on Reddit. We're flipping the birds, and we'll see you guys next week.
Go Birds!
Go Birds.
Yes, sir.
Flipping the birds.